I was a runner at Capitol, and he asked the assistant, "Hey man, will you come to my house and record guitars this weekend? The guy that just got the coffee, I'll give you his number. He would probably love to do it." I went over to this guy's house, cut guitars, and then he was like, "Do you want to just come back every day?" And that ended up to be my first major label mix credit, and was on a platinum album, being the Hannah Montana soundtrack.
What does it take to build a mixing career that spans Jonas Brothers, Skylar Grey, Imagine Dragons, Taylor Swift, and still have the headspace to run a successful podcast, overcome adversity, and keep creating killer mixes? Now, I've been working with today's guests for, I reckon, around 4 years now, and he's one of the most dependable mixers I know. His journey looks effortless from the outside, but the truth is it's built on skill, resilience, and a lot of smart decisions, which I want to uncover in today's episode. In this conversation, we're going to unpack exactly how he navigated to the jump to full-time mixing, the lessons he's learned from working across different paths in the industry, and how he's turned setbacks into momentum. If you're an engineer looking to understand what it really takes to build a sustainable career in audio, you're going to get a ton out of this episode. Welcome to the Loud AF Club, where we cut through the noise and go straight to the source. Travis, thank you for joining us.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. This is going to be a good time.
It's going to be a great time because I was sneaky before this episode, went through your discography because I've always been impressed by it. And I'm like, what did you do on these records? I'm like, okay, you did some recording for Imagine Dragons, Taylor Swift. I think in 2016 you were recording some stuff on some of Skylar Grey's records, but then you mixed her stuff in 22, if I'm correct.
These sound fairly correct.
And it's such a mixture, and it's very eclectic because you've got this sort of tracking history from the mid 2010s, early 2010s, mid 2010s, into this transition where you're now full-time mixing. And through that transition, I think what's really interesting is that you've made it look effortless, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're full-time mixing now.
Yeah. I mean, I do a couple gigs here and there, but mainly I mix. Yeah.
So I think the inner child in me wants to know, how'd you link in on records like Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers? Because that's just like, that's the Nickelodeon. It's Nickelodeon, that crew, isn't it? Or is it Disney?
That one's Disney, but I did my fair share of Nickelodeon as well.
Yeah, I saw those creds as well. How'd you link into that world to kick it off?
So, I mean, it was always about working with somebody up until maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I was always working for somebody or for a studio. And you'll see a lot of, there's a lot of people that have credits, and you'll dig through, there'll be assistant credits, but you stay somewhere long enough, you build some relationships, and working for a person or working in a studio ends up getting you engineering credits and mixed credits. I think a lot of people are like, oh, he was a staff engineer, they're all assistant credits. You, like, when you're in those buildings long enough, you can get the engineering credits. But yeah, I mean, the if you want to specifically talk about Disney and Nickelodeon, I was a runner at Capitol Studios. That's where I started. Came to LA in 2006. And I kind of hit that point where I would be the next person to get promoted to assistant. Like, I would do the gigs that people didn't want, but nobody was going to leave because it was a really great gig. And so a producer songwriter came through. He was doing a choir for High School Musical 3. And I was a runner, getting coffee, cleaning toilets, doing the thing. And he asked the assistant who was running Pro Tools, hey man, will you come to my house and record guitars this weekend? And the assistant was like, dude, I work here, I'm busy. I was like, but the guy that just got the coffee, I'll give you his number. He would probably love to do it. And so I went over to this guy's house, cut guitars for, I don't know, probably High School Musical, something Disney. It was like Disney all the time with this guy. And he was like, you want to come back tomorrow? I was like, sure. I came back the next day and he was like, do you want to come back tomorrow? I'm like, sure. And then he was like, do you want to just come back every day? And I was like, well, I gotta quit my job. So let me think about this for a second. And so I quit my gig at Capitol and I went to go work for this producer. His name was Matthew Girard. He did a lot of High School Musical 1, 2, and 3. a lot of Hannah Montana theme. Like he was like crushing that kid's pop. Yeah, so that's how I ended up doing that, cutting vocals for Miley Cyrus, and you know, kind in a nice home studio, and paparazzi are like outside and waiting for her to come out. She's like, I don't know, 15. So it's
Mm.
just crazy, like to be famous like that at that age must be like daunting. But yeah, he just kept giving me tasks. He would be like, "Hey, can you tune this? Can you record that? Can you record this? Can you do that?" And finally worked his way up where he left me down in the studio, went upstairs to have dinner, and I finished editing whatever I was editing. I just started adding it into the mix. And he came down and I was like, "Hey, I added the guitars into the mix and like I tweaked the vocal. I did a save as though, like, and he was like, "Oh, I like it. Let's make a couple more changes." And so him and I sat there and made a few changes, and he was like, "I'm going to give you co-mix credit on this." And then that ended up to be my first major label mix credit, and was on a platinum album, being the Hannah Montana soundtrack. I don't like how it sounds now, but but yeah, I just kept winning him over, and he kept giving me tasks, and I worked for him for like 3 years. We did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that name did pop up when I was going through the credits. And what I actually saw was um, your name and his name showing up, and then eventually going from engineering or recording, and then eventually there was a credit there where it had him as doing recording the guitar, production, arrangement, and you as the mixer. And I'm like, oh, this is a really common sort of parallel I've seen in so many pros I've spoken to, especially in LA. It's like you need to provide value to someone. You have to be valuable to other people. This parallel is like I said it in last week's episode. He had a really good run with No ID and all that crew because
Hmm.
he was at the studio doing the gigs nobody wanted. Like he'd be the first person to put his hands up, fill in the gaps, and provide value to like really show their worth. So I've got like 3 notes here. It's like, uh, actually, the notes I'll quickly run over because I've got a really curious question to get your take on now, as more of like a
Okay.
philosophical sort of dive into this. So number one, you need to not need to, but you're going to want to attach yourself to some studios, some producer, some songwriters, somebody you can provide value for, and often that means doing stuff that maybe other people don't want to do. But with that, today, okay, you go online on YouTube and everybody can access a tutorial on Mix with the Masters and suddenly be the next CLA. Like, oh, you do this parallel here and this EQ here and this thing there, and then you are making top tier mixes according to this. So I think there's disproportionately an ego mismatch where people are building up these skill sets outside of the reality of working on projects. And then when it comes to doing gigs nobody wants to do, they're sort of like, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to throw my hat into working on this record or working with this producer or getting this much for a mix? No, that's far
Right.
away from what I want to do. So I'm curious, now, do you still have the mentality of doing the thing that nobody else wants to do? Or have you set boundaries, or are there boundaries to that and are there limits?
Oh, there's definitely limits. I mean, I've got 2 kids now. I don't do things that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but to add on to that, if I'm doing, like, if I want to make your record and there's stuff in the process of making your record that I don't want to do, I'm going to do that stuff, or I'm going to hire someone to do it. The only things that I don't do are projects that I don't think I'm a good fit for, or things that maybe don't match my budget needs or timeline constraints. But like if we're doing a gig, I will still to this day do whatever needs to be done. Like if my vocal tuner can't tune the vocals, I'll tune the vocals. Like I don't care, because I said I would get the job done to a level of quality, and it's going to be done whether the job is enjoyable or not is unrelated. So I think I think it's important to make that distinction between doing a job that you don't want to do, maybe because you don't think you're the best person for it, but still being willing to get in the trenches and do the thing. Like I've walked into studios for a tracking session that aren't like the setup's not done. And there's two choices, right? You can walk to the manager at the front and be like, the fuck? This isn't set up. Or you can walk out to the assistant in the live room and be like, hey man, can I run some cables? Do you have an input sheet? Is there anything you don't mind I touch? I know I don't work here, but I'm going to touch all these microphones eventually, so let me help you. Those are the two choices, right? So you just have to be willing to do all the things to get the job done, I think is what's important. That's what you should take away from the not doing things you don't want. Like you're still going to have to do something you don't want to do in the process of doing a record that you do want to do. And you have to do that thing. When you stop doing that thing, you stop bringing the value, and you have to do that.
And it's interesting because the value that's not seen, like it's just considered being competent at your job, even though you might not want to do it. But nobody's going to give you an award for
Right.
setting up a microphone if, like, it's like, no, they're not. They're going to be like, okay, that's where it should be. I'm happy it's there. But they're going to be it's going to be a pretty shitty experience if you don't go to the assistant and start getting things set up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to can we go back to the ego in the mix tutorial thing?
Yeah.
Because I think that so when I started, it was 2006. Like it was the tail end of the traditional recording studio route where you got a job at a studio and you kind of worked your way up the way that I did. And like that whole system has kind of died while I was passing through it. I think that there is something powerful or important about teaching yourself something and then feeling confident in doing it, because the way the business is now, you have to sell yourself to strangers on the internet, or you have to be in a music town, right? So you eliminate the 20 music towns in this world, and you have to have a level of blind confidence to get any gigs. When I came up, you proved yourself by doing all the things that needed to be done invisibly and being competent. And then people were like, hey, that guy, he got us through the day. Let's ask for him again next week. And so it's like, it's a different path forward. And in this world where people are making their own path and not traveling down the studio path, I think you need to have a self-awareness that I actually regret not having when I was coming up. Like, I wish that I was more willing to promote myself or make sure that I was on track for my goals when I was going through the studio system, because I definitely spent a lot of time being invisible and being really good at it. And I don't think that helped me, right? It made people were like, oh, Travis will get the job done. But then nobody calls later because you don't put yourself out there in a way that's like, I will work for you. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. So,
Okay.
I do agree with you that there is a lot of watching the internet for 20 minutes and then believing you can mix a record when in reality it takes 10 or 15 years to be able to do a mix that's like good, quote unquote, technically. But yeah, I still think you need to have some of that in there.
Okay, interesting. Because you mentioned about like the transitioning of the studio come up life into like the actual today, the way you need to operate to get clients. One name which stood out to me, which was transitory on your Discogs, was Skylar Grey. Because you recorded for her early on, or engineered for her on the 2016 album, but on the 22 album, I think you mixed most, if not all, the singles on it, if I recall correctly.
The self-titled album I mixed all of.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm thinking, well, that's really interesting, because you weren't you weren't mixing the first one that you engineered on, but the second one you were. And I'm assuming by the second one in 22, we already at least getting acquainted, or if not, had already known each other. And on that note, you would have been out on your own doing the mixing thing. So how did you translate tracking for an artist or a client into that mixing job?
So that's another example of being in a space that people are going to cross through. And so I started out at Capitol Studios, then I went to go work for Matthew Gerard. We did all the Disney Nickelodeon stuff. And I reached a point where I felt like uh, it was just me and him. Like I said, I wasn't getting phone calls. Nobody was calling, because why would you call the guy that Matthew has locked up 6 days a week, 12 hours a day? He's not available. And so an opportunity to return to Capitol came up, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to be back in the community and back in a place that's going to have open doors. And so I unfortunately kind of abruptly ended working for Matthew, and I feel bad about that. You know, you're young, you don't navigate those kind of things well when you're a kid. But I went back to Capitol, and I was a staff engineer there, so I kind of skipped assistant. And then at some point, a producer came through and locked out a couple of the smaller pop rooms, and I just basically worked for him. And so Skylar came through working with him, and she came through working with him a lot, and we just got to know each other. But, you know, she's extremely talented. She can record herself. She can comp her own vocals. So she didn't need me in there. I had to like if you get in the way of somebody that can do it themselves, then you're definitely going to get kicked out of the room. So it was just like, figure out, okay, when she's doing a double, she likes this panned over here. And like when you just find the way to make sure that you're bringing maximum value. And so that first record you're talking about, I recorded a lot of the vocals. I don't know specifically. I'd say at least 6 songs on that record. I recorded
Okay.
all of her vocals. And then there's 2 songs that I mixed. One was an intro, just like a vocal intro. And then one was a song called Jump. And the reason that came about was you try to do the best rough mix you can at the end of the day. And everybody liked the rough mix. And when it came time to release it, the producer on that track, I guess, was like, I think this is pretty good. Like, do you want to just make a couple changes with whoever did this? And so that's how I ended up getting that mix is the rough held up, and then we made some adjustments. And so then just built trust with her over time. It's really about trust. If you want to work with somebody over time, you have to they have to trust that you've got their back, that you are, you know, that you want to understand how to help them create and not be a barrier to them. And so, yeah, it's a combination of being in that room when people walk in to work, then you win their trust, and then that relationship can continue after you leave that facility that you work at.
How have you either yourself, things that you would never do, or things that you've seen other people do that break the trust in that relationship?
I think the most obvious one would be some form of like non-musical related trust, like talking about something that happened in a session, going behind somebody's back, like the basic stuff that makes you an asshole. So A, don't do any of that, okay? Because no one's going to trust you if they don't feel like they can trust you. And then B, I think the biggest one is when, because a lot of my experience is in songwriting sessions and recording people during the creation process. And when you prevent someone from getting an idea out and they forget a lyric or they forget a melody because you don't have the mic plugged in, then they're going to be like, well, I'm not going back to that studio, or I don't want to work with Travis again. I had a great chorus melody and I lost it because this guy wasn't ready. So, I mean, I've done things, not that I've ever had to use it, but like if something wasn't set up and I could tell that something needed to be set up, I would text one of the guys, the runners at Capitol, and be like, hey, I need a 67 to put in the control room. I need it fast. Can you bring it up here? And then I would take my phone and take a voice note and throw it on the table so that something in that room was recording. Because God forbid somebody be like, I can't remember what happened, and I'm the one that's not recording something in that room, then nobody's going to want to work with me again, right? At least I got a voice note. And you'll see a lot of the writers do that. Some people, they'll just run their laptop the entire time. So yeah, I think that those are the two biggest things: being a prick, right? Doing something that most of us wouldn't do anyway, uh, and then killing the flow. I mean, it's super important when someone finally gets to a creative space.
Yeah, to lock in and be competent at your job is really important. I think something, yeah, the competency thing really comes down to the core of what we do. So it's like when you jump into a session and you're mixing and the artist is there, why the hell are they there? They're there to mix a record. So your effort, your concentrated effort has to be on nurturing that interaction. The same when they're in a recording studio, they don't care whether you're using an API 550 or what you've got in the chain. They care that what they're tracking and what they're doing is being taken care of. The rest, it can be all smoke and mirrors. The talking shit one is really interesting because I think there's a big there's a complete polar opposite. So what by this I mean, in the online world, everybody talks shit. Everybody talks shit. And I always think, put them in the room in front of the person they're talking shit about. Put them in front of the artist, put them in front of the engineer, put them in front of the producer, and then say it. And they wouldn't. And this is just sort of like a note to everybody listening. It's okay to be stressed or frustrated or upset at a situation, but how do I put it? Be a problem solver. Okay?
Yes.
Before you vent or you frustrate it out, be a problem solver. And if you're going to discuss it with an open mind to create solutions, not to punch down or punch up towards any individual, because that it will never read well, number one. And number two, you're not even serving yourself when you do that. It might feel good for that small bit, but it does not serve you in the long run by any means. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves actually, is professionals who in an email or on a phone call will bitch about their client. I don't, as a mastering engineer, I cop it a lot on that end of it. And I always try and diffuse
Well,
the
you're getting people
situation
at the end of like a record and they're just tired.
I know they're tired.
I think
they're
it's
grumpy,
important, like to add to what you said. I think when you're on the outside looking in at the music industry and you're like, I want to get in there and I want to make records, it seems huge, but it's really small, especially if you're in LA, especially if you're in Nashville or New York, right? And the internet isn't making it bigger. The internet's making it smaller, right?
Yeah.
You put yourself out there on the internet and it is making the small community of like a town like LA, and it's expanding that out into the internet. So like, yeah, it's just really important to remember that it's not that hard for one bad comment to like circle back around to the person that you're saying it about.
Yeah, and also treat people with real kindness, because you don't know if the doorman at a hotel or the person serving you Chick-fil-A or whatnot is going to be your next boss. You just don't. Actually,
Yeah.
oh man, I've actually got a really cool story about that. Oh, coolest story, and because it's good company and a good person. Tom Breezy. Is it Brady? No, not Tom Brady. Let me just make sure I got the I'm going to give him flowers because he's
Football
such a nice. He had such a beautiful. Anyway, I can't find it now. I'll leave it in the breeze. I can't find it right now. That is so bad. Anyway, so Augsburger's Monitors, one of their technicians out in Miami was down for NAMM this year, and he recognized me off my YouTube channel. Super nice, massive smile, super kind, really welcoming, and it was just really nice to catch up with him. Again, he's just one of the techs for Augsburgers at this point, and he's flying in from Miami. So for me, it's like, okay, this person's super nice. Cool. Engage with them. A couple months later, I think March or April, I get a message. He's now studio manager for one of the Sony or Universal studios out in Miami. And he's like, whenever you're down, you've got a spot. Don't worry, I got you. And it's like, just in a click of a finger like this, somebody can transition paths into a position that can be very influential, can dictate whether you're made or broken on the next record, whether you're picked or not. They might be in the room where they're throwing your name around, and that individual can be the one who goes yes or no, he wasn't really nice to me, or oh, we might go with this other person. So it's always really important to remember that. And in LA, it's exceptionally small. The amount of days I was doing studio hops, every day I was visiting 4 or 5 studios, and it was not uncommon when I'd say, oh, I was just at so-and-so's place. People would be like, oh, yeah, say hi. Or, oh, you're going where next? Oh, yeah, say. And it's like that. And I think I hit up like 40-something spots over that time. And it was not the exception of the rule. It was the rule that typically from one place to the next, everybody knew each other.
Yeah. It's so much smaller than you think it is.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about me. I just get excited with this sort of stuff. You remember, I'm like all the way on the other side of the world. So for me, it's like my spring break. Whenever I go out to NAMM, it's like, okay, I'm with everybody I work with. I'm with my people. So it's like, that's my memory. And then I have to wait a year or 2 years and then I get back out. But yeah, so don't talk shit. Be competent at your
feelings
job.
on NAMM. Gotta love it. But it has to scare you a little bit too.
Well, why does it scare you?
Oh no, it's just like overload. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh my God. But I go just to see people, and I don't go into the music room. It's too loud there. I got to stay in my quiet space and see all the engineering people. But yeah. It's one of these days I have to go and stay down there because I'm so close. I just drive. So then I'm down there for like 3 hours, and then it just becomes this like run around. But I have to make like a day out of it. Have some beers next time.
Yeah, Disneyland. That's like a normal thing for you guys. For me, it's like it's a whole world tour. But anyway, I'll shut up about that. Anyway, so we've got breaking trust, being competent, and that's your transition into the Skylar Grey record, and amongst a whole bunch of other records as well. I think you've got like other things on your under your belt, like the Aloe Blacc stuff. I think there's a Wiz Khalifa feature. There are cool names there. I think there is a Wiz Khalifa feature.
I don't remember recording Wiz Khalifa.
No, I think there is.
There are a lot of incorrect credits on the internet, so
yeah, always watch out. But now here's the thing where I think people are gonna be listening, and they've heard the names, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's every and all the work Travis does." It's like, that's every single record is like that. And it's like, no, that's not the case. There's many, many other records, some that do get good credentials and good ratings. Like, I think the Lullaboy stuff is pretty much a testament to that. The Shoshana Bean stuff is pretty good. Actually, we did the Best Friend stuff. We did that, didn't we?
I love Best Friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's so good.
Both EPs, I think. So good.
Yeah,
I love that.
And the remix. Yeah, no, that's
And you did the
phenomenal.
Lullaboy stuff.
I did whatever the most like the last 3 Lullaboys.
The 2 that I did, I think.
The 2 that you did? Okay, yeah. Cool, and the more ballady one.
Yeah, there's 2 names that are very similar, so I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, there's always one word with a lowercase first. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I remember. I can actually hear the melody in my head now. The reality is not every record is made up of high accolade and high visibility. So then for you coming from a space like a Capitol Records where a lot of the artists coming through have that leverage, you've got sort of that in on those projects. How have you transitioned into full-time mixing where you've had to fill out, you not have to, but just by necessity, if you want to be a full-time mixer, you have to have more than a dozen records a year or dozen singles. You've got to bill it out. You've got to book it out. So what's that transition been like outside of that interconnected studio life hub while you've been isolated from it?
So it really is, for me. I've been in LA for almost 20 years, and it's the accumulation of returning clients. And I think that building trust thing tells you, if that's what you're doing with people, then they'll come back around. I've done a lot of stuff with Shoshana, best friend. I've done almost everything that they've done. Um, and I think that is how I stay busy, and how people that have been in towns like LA and Nashville generally stay busy, because it's a lot of word of mouth and referral. And I know that that's really hard to kind of wrap your head around. People are like, you don't like, where do you get your gigs? And I'm like, well, they come to me because I've been doing this for 20 years. I also like will reach out to people, but for the most part, if you have 30 or 40 people that you know are going to work with you, and they're not all going to make a record every year, but you end up having this natural, like, these 5 people did a bunch of stuff this year, these 7 people did a bunch of stuff this year, and then you sprinkle in some new gigs, hope that those 5 new people get on the recurring client train, and then just it keeps snowballing like that. So yeah, that's not really the answer to your question, was it?
Yeah, well, it answers your environment in terms of you as an engineer filling out your calendar. It's 20 years. It's by osmosis of being on those records and them coming back. And the question I have to ask is to dig into this, because I think myself, I experience a lot of returning clients. I've also experienced clients that go elsewhere, and funnily enough, a lot of them come back as well. And it's a big revolving door. But what do you observe are the key reasons people come back outside of the sort of trust factor that you build up with them? There are a lot more logistical things when you're an independent contractor, like your rate, your timeline, resources. Like, you don't have the resources you had at Capital when you are working on your own. What keeps people coming back, or what are the core things listeners can focus on coming back? And what's the things that push people away that people haven't come back to you because of?
Let's see. I think let's do the reasons that people haven't come back, because I
Haven't.
think that's a really short list. And
Okay.
that's not like, ooh, look at me, nobody fires me. That's more like, I can think of them off the top of my head, and I can tell you the problem with all of them. And it's that we didn't communicate well enough to get on the same page. And I delivered something that was not what they were expecting. And a lot of them have even said, I like this, but this isn't it. And we like to hear something else. And so I think that once you have that moment of the communication breakdown where they're like, we don't even want to do mix recalls because you went so far in a different direction than we wanted that we would rather just like call it. Those people are never going to come back. You're not going to get a second chance. Even if you say it. I've even said like, hey, I love your music. I'll do the next one. Like, let's do it on spec and get on the same page. They're not going to call back. So I think that that's one of the biggest killers is communication. And then we can kind of parallel that into things that will keep them around. And that's follow through and, uh, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? Accountability, right? If I say I'm going to hit your deadline, I'm going to hit your deadline. But if I don't hit your deadline, then that's kind of starting to fall into that miscommunication bucket, right? Because now I didn't have clear communication on what the realistic expectation is. You said you needed it on Thursday, and I was like, you probably don't need it on Thursday, and I give it to you on Saturday. That's bad communication in both directions, and that person's not going to come back. So I think really a lot of the things that will drive an artist or a client or a producer, whatever it is, away probably revolve around communication. Even if the
Okay.
product is good, like the work is good, it's just like it wasn't easy to get it done. I didn't like his process because we didn't talk very well, or we're just not compatible people. That's fair too. Some people just don't vibe. Like you can be
Mm.
the best mixer in the world, but maybe I don't want to sit in the room with you and finish the song. That's cool. I'm going to go to another mixer that I'd rather hang out with afterwards. Um,
Mm.
so yeah. So, and then things that keep people coming back is, like I said, follow through. And look, this is something that I really didn't do for a few years is understanding accountability, right? Like if you don't, I'm not missing your deadline, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to deliver a mix on Friday. And then I don't deliver the mix on Friday. I don't email you. I don't send it to you on Saturday morning. Then on Sunday, I text you and say, I'm going to finish this on Monday. That's like basically missing. It's like, that's a huge miss when I could have just known on Wednesday that I wasn't going to get the mix over on Friday and just sent the text then and said, hey, I'm not going to have this where I want it on Friday. Do you mind if I work on it through the weekend? And the difference there is that in both of those situations, you miss the deadline, right? But it's the way that you miss the deadline. And so I think it's
Mm.
important when you know that you are not going to be able to uphold your end of the bargain, that you need to convey that. Don't leave somebody hanging. Don't
Yeah.
disappear. I know an artist will disappear sometimes when you're like waiting for the mix revisions and they're like on the beach. That's cool. They're the client. I mean, that's not ideal, but you're the service provider. If you're not going to be holding yourself accountable, then that's going to be a problem. And that takes a lot to understand, because you have to admit that you made a mistake, and nobody likes
Yeah.
to do that, right? Nobody's going to
Yeah.
be like, sorry, I made a mistake. That's hard to say.
That's hard to say.
And
I've got. Oh, you go. You go.
go ahead. No,
No, no, you
I
go.
have nothing else.
Perfect. Well, because I love talking. Obviously, people who listen to the podcast know that I can yap forever. But no, something like a protocol I have is they're typically once in a blue moon events I don't miss. I miss deadlines, and it's usually because in the last decade the computer's completely shit itself, or everything's a funny one is when Dropbox has decided to resync and fill up my hard drive, so that's literally a day gone. The protocol is there. Call everybody directly. Tell them the situation. Say, hey, I had it locked in for today. My computer's out. This is on me. I am sorry. I apologize. This is the time I'm looking to get it done. This is when it'll get delivered. And it's 3 or 4 phone calls because my days aren't that packed. And like, that's my protocol is like, hit it directly. You do not want to leave anything to interpretation. You don't want to leave anything open. If anybody's disappointed, you can map or plan things out. If they need to, like, let's say the release is tomorrow and they need to get something, it's like, okay, I'm going to send you to so-and-so to get this sorted, and whatnot. In terms of the no's, I think the common thread through everything you said, and even I've experienced myself, is whenever a client's handing over money, in terms of they're exchanging their hard-earned dollar for a service, in their heart, they have a feeling of where they want to take something in terms of creatively and where it's going to finish and the envision. It is like, okay, I won't use anything too graphic or violent, but like killing a part of them whenever it doesn't meet that expectation, because all their hopes, dreams, all they're worked on is put into this decision to go, I'm going to get so-and-so to mix it, so-and-so to work on it. So you're taking that, and you're not always going to get it right. Nobody will ever have 100% strike rate. It just doesn't happen. But when that expectation is not met, it is not you they are angry at. It is the expectation being broken up that is the breaking down of that long-term relationship or business relationship, because it hasn't been met. It's a hard pill to swallow. So the process and the outcome are the two things which you've highlighted through, I've just written notes here, that people align their expectations with, what they expect to happen when they rock up to the studio, how they expect the session to go, how that whole process. the outcome is what they get physically back, because you can have an awesome time in the studio, but if the outcome isn't, so yeah, the expectation, that's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one to navigate and manage, because
It is.
yeah, that's an exceptional one. So I don't really want to advise on it because I haven't thought deeply about managing client expectations, because I think it's very personal to every professional. Like, you know how you work as a mixer, Travis. I know how I work as a mastering engineer. So there's something innate in me which understands what will serve a client when that project comes through. So I've already got like a temperature gauge on what's happening, where it's going, and what the success looks like and is likely of. But I haven't thought of, I like to framework things because it just makes it easier for me to articulate and communicate. I haven't thought of a framework that could be universal. Like, this is how you temper expectations and see
Yeah,
it ahead.
I don't think you could make it universal. I think the way that I handle it now is to really lay my is to try to get on calls with people as
Mm,
quick as possible. I mean, some people just want to email. That's fine, but I really think that you should communicate with, even if it's like vintage telephone and not Zoom. Talk to people, and I think the thing that has helped me the most and probably saved a few gigs is saying, "Hey, like I am past the point in my career where like I want to like put a sonic stamp on your record." Right? Like if you want like a sonic stamp, you go to like Chad Blake and he does Chad Blake. I have like my sonic preferences, but I'm here to serve what you've done already. And so I always tell people that I'm here to take your vision and like expand that out, make your 100%. And if I do anything that feels exciting creatively, I'll probably send you an alternate, like, hey, I did this thing in the bridge. If you don't like it, that's cool. But just lay out there that the rough mix that you're giving me and the conversation we're having right now is what's going to guide my choices. And if that rough mix is soaked in reverb and you actually want it to be dry, then this is your time to tell me, because that rough mix to me is a guide for the story you want to tell. And then I'm going to tell that story in the best way possible. But if we're not on the same page of what the story is, I can't tell it. I can't help you tell that story. And I think that has, uh, that's probably saved a few of those, like, this isn't what I expected, because then people are like, oh, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. And when I say this reference, I'm actually mean like that's just for the vocal, and like this reference is for like the way the drums are distorted or whatever, right? And then you get these specifics that you didn't have before. And I probably started doing that after the last time I had a total miss, because I love the song. I was so pissed that I didn't get that gig. I was so bummed because I really just thought it was great. I thought the artist was super talented. I think his rough mix was fucking great. And that's what I told him. I was like, just use your rough, dude. It's good. It's really good. If you don't like my take, that's cool. Like, this is my take. What you have is great. And he used his. I wish I wish I would have done it, because I just really love the song. But I think after that one, I was like, I don't want this to happen again. I don't want another song that I really just am so stoked to listen to come across my desk and then not have my mix be the one. So I think you can, if you figure out like where you've had problems managing
mm,
expectations, I think you can find a way to convey that to clients. And it's not always going to be like about the rough mix like it is for me. That's just the thing that's gotten me so many times. It might be about missing deadlines or something like that or whatever. Everybody's going to have their thing. And if you can figure out how to just lay it out there, you can solve the problem. It's doable.
it's interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to think of all the pain times that's happened to me. And I'm in a very fortunate position where it's very few. Very few. Because I'm mastering most things. I think I had one earlier this year which I missed out on, which did hurt. I think it hurt my ego more than anything. Because
Yeah.
the record was
Yeah.
good and cool, but I'm like, my master sounds better. But it's like, it's not for me to judge and say.
Right.
So
Well, what is better though? Right. What is better?
yeah. Oh, look, it's
I think that's where
for,
people get hung up. They're like,
I get hung up,
my
but
mix is better.
yeah, no,
Go ahead.
it was just this energy that I got to the master. And again, this is my description and my subjective analysis of it, but it was so freaking good. And then they
That's
came
your
back
energy.
with like,
That's what you want, though.
I know, but like I said, it was a real egotistical sort of like upsetness about it because they just went with the limiter on the 2-track, and I'm like, it still sounds good. It's still a good song, so I can't hate them for it, but a little bit of a deep cut because it would have been a cool record just to be a part of. I still love the
Yeah.
artist. It's just my ego. But we'll keep
Yeah, I
moving
feel
the
you. I
podcast
feel you.
along because I still got 2 things I want to hit up on. One was something that I commend you for. I've commended you in private for. I think people have seen the journey, and back in January, just before I flew up, the fires started ablaze in Altadena and Pasadena, and your studio was burnt down. A week later, literally, or the week and a half later, with a brave face, you've gotten to Nam to spend 3 hours there, and I was like, wow, you're really brave. And then
I needed that, ma'am.
in and amongst all of that, you've had to deal with managing a career, a family, a studio burning down, which is right next to your property, like your home. And mentally, the whole situation, I don't know where to navigate from. Period. Because I'm just trying to like, the reason why I wanted to highlight this is because I want to draw a parallel here, not to diminish anybody else's experiences or your own. That the fact that in our lives we go through adversities, we go through great times working on great records, we go through some really tough things that happen. And I've seen you absolutely champion through it. And I'm curious what kept you moving at, like, it's like you just strided through it, at least from the outside, which was like incredible. It's just like you just kept walking.
That's
it was like
not true.
But it might not be true. But I never felt like you dropped off the radar. I never felt like you neglected your responsibilities. So I like, just tell me about that experience and how you've managed the last 6, 7, oh, it's more than 7 months. We're 10 months into the year. No, we're 8 months into the year now.
8. Yes.
How you've navigated 25 through that.
Yeah. It's been, I'm ready for 2026. I'm like super stoked for that 5 to just roll over into a 6, more so than ever. Yeah, I mean, like, to be totally honest, like, I would describe my life on January 5th as like basically perfect. Pregnant wife, 2.5-year-old beautiful daughter, house, amazing neighborhood, friends that we see all the time, just like studio in the back, working 3 days a week, making my entire living more than I made working 6 days a week. Like, just every podcast growing like 1,000% at the end of 2024. Like, literally everything. It was like everything I had worked for. It was just like, well, fuck, this is it. This is like, I'm making cool records every day. I'm doing everything I want. I have balance with my family. And then that's that. So yeah, January 7th, we woke up, didn't know if we had a house. Was it this? No, sick. Found out that the house survived the morning of January 8th. So it was about 48 hours of not knowing whether we had a house. And then when we found out the house survived, that's when I found out the studio had burnt down. And so I went up there immediately. I'm not really going to get into the whole story. It's on my YouTube channel if somebody wants to see somebody breaking down, talking about, how awful it is. Like, it is like, you cannot describe it to somebody and have them understand like the absolute devastation You have to
Yeah.
go. And I even tell people in LA, they're like, oh, how are you in your house? And there's part of me that just wants to look at it and be like, get in your car, drive to fucking Altadena, drive through it, and then get back to me. Right? Like it's not okay. Like nothing over here is okay. But so yeah, it's been a hard year. And to be honest, like, I have not worked that much this year.
Okay.
The things I've done have been with clients that I really love. Here's a hot tip. Don't tell the internet your studio burnt down. It's not helpful. Um, but it's like it I haven't been doing the outreach and like curating the relationships and reminding people that I'm around because dealing with insurance. And I mean it's like a couple hours every day for we're going on like 8 months. And so yeah, I can't wait to get back in my house, hopefully in a month or two. Um, but yeah, no, it's really, really difficult. And thank you. I know you sent me a message, a few weeks ago or maybe a few months ago. But yeah, I mean, we had a second kid. We're not in our house. We lost all of our baby stuff. We've thrown, you know,
Mm.
toys out. Like it is a challenging experience to go through. It's kind of like you really it tests. It really takes you to the breaking point. But
Mm.
like nothing else is hard. And I used to say that about having kids. Like after I had my daughter, people would be like, "Can you do this crazy gig?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have a kid. That sounds easy. Having a kid's fucking hard." But yeah, I mean, having two kids and going through this, like, there's nothing in the music business that somebody's gonna say to me or have me do that I'm gonna think is challenging in any capacity. Like, no offense, like nothing is gonna be hard compared to this. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what else to say other than thank you, and I hope that it's over soon. Um, I'm gonna do some videos on like tips on insurance and like what I've learned about losing a studio and uh, the things I'm gonna replace. I have like a lot of things that I want to share. I just don't have the capacity to do it at the moment because I do have to focus on mixing, like family, house, mixing, then podcast and YouTube and sharing. But yeah, it's well, not a great year.
Yeah, not a great year, but I'm proud of you, man. I am proud of you, like, genuinely.
Thanks.
And with that, it puts a lot of things into perspective. It sounds like what you're focused on right now, are just the core elements of your life or your being, like your family, your mixing, your podcast, which you've started up again, which is awesome. Just these core things which
Finally,
serve you as an individual and those around you as well, which is important. And it also puts into perspective, how important are all the ancillary things that we occupy our lives with or our careers with,
yeah, yeah, and
which
well,
which
yeah,
is
you it changes your perspective on what's important and how you view things and like what you take for granted and like even like what you need to get the job done. That's it. That's the studio now. Um, and so we're in the process of working through the beginning of rebuilding. But yeah, you realize that you don't need the stuff to do the job. That's the first thing I realized. I was really, really frustrated. I guess we have to give some like insights into audio, right? And I can't just sit here and talk about how annoyed I am that my city burnt down. You realize like it really is about you and it's about your sonic identity, and you don't need anything. I mean, luckily, like I'm mostly in the box, so my plugins don't melt. Um, Everything else did, but the speakers, like I really had done all of my work in the same room on the same speakers for like 5 straight years. And there was like a moment where I was like, can I deliver? Can I deliver? Because I'm not a headphone mixer. I have my Pro Axe, and that's like the way that I've lived my life for 5 years. And so these guys, saviors, because they were like the last reference I had. Steven Slate sent some of the VSX headphones out to people that had lost studios. I still greatly appreciate that. And those headphones have worked out really well for me, especially the last update they did. It's like very customizable and very tunable. And like
Okay.
I found something, I'm getting something out of these headphones that I haven't gotten out of any pair of headphones prior. And I didn't think that I would still be using them. I thought like I would get some like Audis or something, but um, 7, 8 months on them, and it's like mixes are getting approved. Old clients, new clients, same number of revisions. Which that was like a big confidence boost when I needed it. When I sent that
Hmm.
first mix out, that I did like 50% on earbuds, and they were like, "This is great." I'm like, "Are you sure? Did you listen to it? Like, is it good?" Because I did it like 50% on these, and but yeah, now I feel like I have a flow and I have some like normal. I have an anchor now in those headphones. And when I get back to the house, I'll probably add some speakers. But in reality, I'm not going to have space for a proper monitoring situation until I rebuild. So this is just going to be the way that it is. And so yeah, you learn very quickly what is necessary, and everything that's necessary is already in you. And so if you ever somebody steals your Apollo or something falls off your tour bus, like it's not the end of your career. You make the choices that you make because you are making them, right? And you'll always just reference something and you're like, "Oh, I made it too bright." Like that's always like a thing that you can do. So, yeah, have confidence that people are coming to you because of you. It's not because of your speakers, it's not because of your stereo bus compressor or whatever it is. That's not why anybody isn't standing in line to work with you. Um, and that's probably the biggest takeaway worth sharing from like a technical standpoint.
I think that's a healthy takeaway as well, because we have a limited bandwidth on where to place our attention every day. And like when things are going well, it's easy to chew that bandwidth up with items, tasks, gear, things which don't necessarily impact the outcome, that don't have a great impact on the outcome of what you're doing. Whereas when you're like stripped down to bare bones, headphones, laptop, like even when I'm traveling, same thing. I've got the AirPods, I've got my Odyssey, and I'm traveling. I'm like, cool. I don't have my studio with me, but it's still me making the decisions. It's still me driving the ship. And then you've also got this aspect of repetitions, which Bob Horn talked about. He did 1,500 mixes before he started branching out on his own. And those repetitions build experience in professionals, which I think people should place on a pedestal much more of doing, rather than the plugin or the tool or the speaker or whatnot. It's like, no, wait a second. How many times have you actually done a mix, finished a mix and sent it out and gotten feedback? That's where the real lessons lie and the real growth lies. So yeah, that's great.
And this goes all the way back to like like what we were talking about before. It's you have to do enough reps, like you're saying, like Bob said. You have to experience all the things that like I experienced in a studio, where I now know that there are very few things that I haven't done once. And so anything that happens in a session or anything that's asked for in a mix, I have some experience with that. And that's the X factor that the YouTube tips plus rational amount of eco that I mentioned is missing. And that's the thing that makes a difference, is doing it, right? You can be pretty good and believe that you're pretty good and sell yourself and get some cool gigs, but you still got to do it for like 5-10 years before you actually like are comfortable doing all the things. And that's what you're talking about, where you just put your headphones on. It's like you're making the choices because you've been making them for 10 years. I'm making the choices because I've been making them for 10 years or whatever it is. So yeah, I wanted to connect that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's a perfect, like connection to be made. But yeah, with that, I think what actually I'm curious about, because I'm upset about now, really upset about, because this is a good note to end the podcast on, but also share a little bit is, actually I shouldn't say I'm upset about it because it's so selfish to say that, but you're firing your podcast back up and it's all in person
For now, yeah.
for now.
I'm trying.
Who've you had on? Who've you got coming on? Tell me. I think it's worth noting and why you've picked those people.
So it's in person because this is the first time I've actually done like a Zoom Riverside recorded thing, like in the our temporary apartment. Like I have the lights like on our bed, like my bed's right there. I mean, that's like, I've been doing this, I'm 41, I've been doing this for 20 years, and my desk, I'm mixing records next to my bed. We've gone full circle. But yeah, the in-person thing came just because the kids are in the house. I don't have the separate space. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I bought my camera again, and I haven't done one of these yet, but I'm filming myself with an iPhone and the guest with my good camera. And then Spotify did like a creator wildfire relief thing, which I really appreciate. I know everybody's like really hating on Spotify these days, which is fair, whatever. But they gave studio time to musicians that lost studio time, and they gave podcast studio time to creators that lost studio time. And so you'll see if you go to my channel, the first episode is filmed at Spotify, and there's one more episode that was filmed at Spotify. And so I appreciate the people that work in that building. You can say what you want about the philosophy of the company, but the philosophy, the way the company works isn't the people, and the people helped the people of Los Angeles. I just want to put that out there because everybody hates Spotify right now, and I just have to remember that the employees are different from the company. And so the in-person thing just works, and I had fun doing it, and I want to keep doing it. There's guests that I want to get that I know I can't do in person because I don't live in LA, but I'm really trying to like tap into everybody I know in LA, get into their studio or their space and have a conversation. And I'm changing the show a little bit. People listening to this at this point may not know what the show is, so it doesn't matter, but I'm trying to make it a little bit more about songwriters and producers, like all of the behind the scenes. Like obviously my big interviews have been engineers. I've always wanted the show to be about more than that, about the whole industry, all the behind the scenes. And so I just had Ari Herstand on, who most people probably know from his blog and his podcast, The New Music Business, and his book, How to Make It in the New Music Business. That episode is out. I don't know when this comes out, but I have another one coming next week with Michael J. Morgan, who is a coach, like a career business coach specifically for mix engineers, and it's a really amazing conversation. If you're listening to this and you're a mixer,
wait, what was their name?
Not about tips. It is about like all of the other shit that makes a difference, not the compressor setting.
What was their name?
Michael J. Morgan.
Michael J. Morgan. I don't know why.
You've probably seen him on Instagram.
Let me just stalk this.
And then who else?
Okay.
There's a songwriter named Justin Gamella that I just interviewed recently. I'm editing his episode. We get into like the reality of royalties and stuff like that. He also has a podcast that's really good. Damian Taylor's back because it's not a season of Progressions without Damian Taylor, producer, Bjork and the Killers and stuff like that. And then who else is recorded? And then another Altadena musician that I actually met because our kids went to the same park. He lost everything. And he's an amazingly talented musician and producer, plays with a bunch of huge artists. And we have a really great conversation that was like supposed to be about like how musicians get gigs, but it's really about like how to have a career, and it's unrelated to specifically playing guitar. It's like, if you want to have like a lot of the stuff that we talked about here, if you want to have a long career, then that's a good conversation. That's what I have in the bag right now. And
that's cool.
Hopefully we'll get some more big ones.
Yeah, and then I have to fly down in January and jump on as well.
That's right. You're coming out for NAMM. I feel like I have to do like a NAMM week and nail a bunch of people while they're here and like rent a space or something, and really just make sure that I spend as much money on my podcast that doesn't make me money as I possibly can. And then then just have a bunch of interviews.
I will say this, that Michael J. Morgan, he worked with Noah Cronin, who was a
Okay.
podcast guest 2 episodes ago. He does all the reggae stuff I work on.
Okay, nice.
And I will say this, I do not know Michael J. Morgan, but Noah's website is freaking insane.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah, Michael
so
tweaks the
well put.
websites.
It's so well put to, because I saw the website and I asked Noah who did this, and he's like, "Oh, this is Michael J. Morgan," and he said this in the podcast. And then I'm like, "This is really good. What does he do?" Like, is this just a designer? It's like, no, this is what he does. And then the branding was just
Oh no, he crushes it. Yeah. Yeah.
phenomenal. Like, and I don't, and I'm not super vocal about business. I'm going to say gurus for the sake of not beating around the bush, like business advice sort of things. Even I'm in
Right.
that space. I
Yeah.
don't tend to punch down or punch or not or shine a light on them, because I think it's a very precarious space, because you're dealing with people's incomes and livelihoods and hopes and ambitions. But I can just say this as a blanket statement. The website that Noah Cronin has as a mixing engineer is an exceptional example of great branding and positioning for a mixing engineer. Like, Travis, you should definitely go check it out. Like,
I'm gonna
literally,
go look at it. For
go
sure.
look
For
at it.
sure.
It's really
I wonder
well
if I
done.
follow Noah. I gotta look to see if I follow him. But yeah, I'll check it out.
Mate,
Well, the thing that I really like about that conversation is it's about a lot more than business. It's about the stuff that, my podcast, which we haven't even said the name of my podcast. It's called Progression Success in the Music
yeah.
Industry.
Yeah.
We've gotten this far. We just keep saying podcast.
Podcast. I should have.
And
I've
so,
got progressions written down on the bottom of my page, but on the very
no,
top
you're
it says
fine.
podcast. Yeah.
Well,
Continue, man.
I'm not. I didn't even bring it up. But it's about like the things, like the accountability thing that I was talking about, where like all of those little tweaks that you can make to the way that you function as a person that are going to make a big difference. The way that you um, relate to the things that happen to you. Like, how do you relate when somebody walks away from a mix? How do you relate when a song you think is going to do well doesn't do well? Is that does that impact you negatively? There's so many things that I would love to get into more. It's hard to get people to listen to them, and I think Michael and I had a really good conversation about it. And it's a lot of the things that I touch on in a lot of the episodes, but in this one, I really enjoy it because we really kind of hit a lot of the things that I love to talk about, and I think that everybody needs to hear. But it can be a hard pill to swallow when you're talking about something that can ultimately be very personal. Like, you have to reflect on yourself, to make some of these changes that a lot of people need to go to the next level, and that's really difficult to do. So
I'm really looking forward to that
um,
episode.
so that'll be, I don't know when this comes out, but that's next week. Our time.
That'll be the same week as this. We'll be competing. We'll be
Yeah,
competing
and
for podcast attention.
If you're going to watch that episode, you're probably going to notice me wearing this shirt with these lights in the intro, because that's what I'm going to do when we get off of this.
That's hilarious. Awesome. Well, that's probably a good segue to wrap up the episode anyway. I'm going to link all your IGs, T Ference, down below, and people are going to find you and hunt you down. Because
I hope not.
Maybe not. But anyway, I'm actually really glad we had this conversation, because I got through all the notes and I've like mind mapped while we've been talking, because I'm paying attention. I'm not on my phone off to the side. I'm writing down, like, who's this person? Who's Matthew Gerald and Capital Runner? And, like it's just a big mind map of everything, because I wanted to do this called Justice, and the podcast justice and the listeners justice, so they can leave this with something valuable and engaged, which is important. So look, Travis, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Man.
And we'll love you and leave you. And until next week, everybody take care of yourselves.
Thanks, man.
Whoa, no, don't leave the call. Stop the call.